Section 91 from Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Elise D. Sonnets of the South 4. Sweet soul, forgive me if a mood of mine has seemed to chill the warm room of your heart, where love sat smiling at her web apart, weaving my being into yours divine. Lean through the dark, your eyes with love ashine, making my own with yearning rapture smart. Kiss me again. Ah, I shall never start out of your arms breaking their fierce entwine. Oh, how my throat throbs at the very thought of your dear lips lying upon my own. Come closer, O beloved, closer still, till life is death and worlds and heavens naught. We two upon this planet, pale, alone, stemming eternity at love's wild will. End of section 91. Section 92 from Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Elise D. Sonnets of the South 5. I was a little cageling life had held tight before you came and set me free, and made me soar above the narrow little glade of circumstance and self on wings of light. Dear heart, you touched my soul that trembling night. I dipped my body in the love you laid against my heart. Ah, God, had I but stayed, I might have died of love. Sweet, what delight! And now I live, and the great crown of fire you gave me in the circlet of a kiss scents all my lustrous life. I dream, I wait. The luminous long day faints with desire. So I, beloved, in an anguished bliss. Ah, cage me in your heart and lock the gate. End of section 92. Section 93 from Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Elise D. Sonnets of the South 6. Beloved, if I thread my tears for you like crystal jewels on a chain of fire, 'tis that I love too deeply for desire, too frankly and too well to be less true. Nay, let them dim again my eyes' calm blue, like fountains of pure feeling that inspire all that is small in me to swift transpire and lose itself where souls their Maker woo. Love, take me to your heart, I need you so. Oh, let the flooding river of my tears over the tempest of our passions roll, till the clear stream, with life of love aglow, sweeps like slow music from the higher spheres, safe to the brimming ocean of your soul. End of section 93. Section 95 from Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Elise D. Wedded. The seas of paradise around me flood. I feel their torrents leaping through my blood. Melt on my mouth. Who spoke of death? Ah me, this is the margin of eternity. The drops of day fall on my fainting eyes. The dew of sleep throbs to my head and dies. I am the vineyard and you are my Lord. Death cannot touch us with her scarlet sword. Gather the grapes that cluster round my soul, drink at the milky fountains as they roll over the valleys that my being shrines, feed as a heart among the mountain pines. My body is no more, it swoons to air from the close sepulchre of one mute prayer. Red the abundant blossoms of the sun that fire our couch and languish one by one. You are a flock of doves that round me float, beating your pinions on my perfumed throat. Your lips are as a hive of bees that fly, moist winged and swift to drink the lilies dry. Here in the ecstasy of life I rest. The doves and bees sleep on my quiet breast. Ah God, such rapture running through my brain trembles my body back to breathe again. Cold-fanged and crimson-flanked, death passes by. Some clod of clay crumbles at every sigh. What should we fear? The full, rich day we know shall fail not of its tender afterglow. End of section 95. Section 96 from Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Elise D. The Bridal Ode. Soft sped the last and lonely night of my unshadowed maidenhood, as youngest stars shed amber light along the wood, and through the moon's wind-loosened hair, small dulcet voices round and sweet made mellow music on the air of joy complete. When, drowsed with ecstasies of dream, beside my bridal veil I spied great Sappho standing in the gleam of still star-tide, and, by her eyes of love and power, she offered me a favor fair, the golden blossom of an hour to have and wear. "Oh, sing," I said, "an ode for me, of trembling vows and kisses fine, to match the tender witchery of longings mine. Sing of the folded bliss that lies in miracles of married rest, where sense that aches for gladness dies to reach love's best. Oh, take my soul for your lost lyre, and from its chords a music sweep, to tell my love my true desire in notes that leap like flame of all my being drawn to him, surrendering full deep the perfect passion's waking dawn from virgin sleep." She touched my bridal veil and smiled, as, kissing with her fingertips the orange wreath upon it piled, she moved her lips. Her singing speech fell faint and low, and round my heart wild rapture flung. Ah, girl, if you but love him so, my ode is sung. End of section 96.
Section 97. Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Caveat. Night Ride. Faster speed we through the bracken, catch me closer to your heart, clench the reins before they slacken, lest the frightened fillies start. Oh, the blazing pennons whirling, ruby jewels on the grass, and the burnished blossoms curling into phantoms as we pass. Down the slender tongue of tracking let her fly, she cannot trip. Back of us we hear the cracking of the scarlet stockman's whip. He is rounding up his cattle, fiery steers and steeds of gold, crimson stallions hear them rattle, through the forest, fold on fold. He is groaning with his plunder, turn her quickly to the creek. Though his feet be swift as thunder, we shall hear his angry shriek, as we gallop helter-skelter through the cool and plashing tide, to the land of peace and shelter on the safe and southern side. On he follows, nearer, nearer, ring his Brumby's brazen feet, clipping, clopping, clearer, clearer, death's the fire we must defeat. Keep your lips on mine, my darling, let the flame flowers lick my hair, love can brook the angry snarling of their passionate despair. Cross the creek he cannot follow, love will ever conquer all, down we canter through the hollows, safe at last from scathe and fall. Thus I fancied we were speeding all night long with love's control, from our passion and its pleading, to the safety of our soul. End of section 97.
Section 98 from Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Elise D. In No Woman's Land. His head was on his arms, and they, like it, were still. His brave brown eyes, no longer lit with passionate pure fire, fluttered in death, and a faint mist mixed with his parting breath. The young moon came. She moved in folds of light across the blood-red fields, and through the night he heard the shadow of her white feet glide like music in a dream. She sought his side. Upon her milk-white breast she took his head and kissed his mouth. "My love," his cold lips said, and with her loose, sweet hair she shrouded all his limbs. He smiled. He died. White gleamed his pall. End of section 98. Section 99 from Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Elise D. Spring. E-O, E-O, Evo hey oh, the wine of spring is in the air, with leaves of laughter in their hair, the merry, mad, young maenads blow their glad pipes everywhere. The lord of youth his thesaurus swings above his round and jolly head, as riding on a heifer red, with flowery horns and flanks, he springs across the river bed. He leads a jocund company of prancing kids and dimpled girls, whose whirling arms and flying curls and feet afire with dancing glee are ripe for revelry. They follow on. E-O, E-O! They leap his heifer's back, limb light, or pinch the silken sides and white of plump young calves that skipping go to browse mid clover snow. And one, more merry than the rest, up jumps and tugs and pulls him down. She rolls with him, all free from frown, amongst the grasses, breast to breast, till others join the jest. They poke him with their pearly thumbs, they tumble him from hand to hand. He, dodging half the joyous band, nips soft in play the first who comes, and all her sweetness plumbs. But doubled up with mirth at last, his hearty laugh rings blithely round, the forest dimples at its sound, with flocks of flowers the bees hold fast, and young birds chirrup past. The wine of spring is in the air, E-O, E-O, Evo hey oh! Drink deep, drink long, the goblets flow with life and joy that scatters care, and youth reigns everywhere. End of section 99. Section 100 from Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Elise D. The Baby's Bay. As I came down to the shore today with a tripping toe for a pint of play, I saw swing high where the whitefish ply a silver ship with a poop of gold, with a captain bold and a boatswain old, who shouted, "Ho, if you want to go to a laughing land with a winking way, come along with us to the Baby's Bay." I dropped my age and I climbed on deck. Oh, the boards were bright as a starry speck, and Jack and Jill, with their buckets still, came running down to collect my fare. For a happy heart and a childish air, a smile forsooth from the lips of truth, will procure you a bunk in the silver ship at the sunset hour when she takes her trip. Away we sailed on a sea of pearl, and the boatswain Time made the billows swirl, with heave, heave ho, for a jolly row, and safe return to the good ship's sleep, with her freight of dreams and little Bo Peep, whose tiny fold is the golden hold. And the skipper Love sang a song of glee as he steered us along through the nursery sea. And when we got to the Baby's Bay, where the stars spin mirth and the rainbows play, the girls and boys with their rosy toys rang nonsense bells till the moon rang out, till I heard a hush through the pearly rout, a tinkling tap like a fairy's rap, and wee Willie Winkie stilled the bliss at the stroke of 8 with a good-night kiss. End of section 100.
Section 101, Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Caveat. Gods at Gallipoli. On Lemnos leaned the blossoms of the moon, large as the blooms of fire that lighted Vulcan in his fall at noon from Jove's Olympian choir. And a breeze blew from Mudrus to the beat of old gods' moving feet. Over Samothrace and Imbros rose a sound of lyres sob-sorrowing, and up the beaches on the bordering ground it echoed string on string, like the mourned marvel of a deity death-danced along the sea. The calm Aegean in her slumber turned, and shook her olden soul. Myrrh and sweet spices in her billows burned, and made an incense bowl. For the fair company whose singing came across the tide aflame, Apollo led them, and the deeps of death from Hellespont complained, where Hero and Leander warmed the breath of the foam starry stained, and fast his flight he took unto the strait of youth's untimely fate. But passing that peninsula of woe that wandered at the gate, he saw white lightnings mystically glow on landings desolate, and three tall spirits kept a watch apart, still standing heart to heart. Who trespasses, he said, my hallowed ways, and moved along the beach. Be still, ye flutes, ye pipes, cease, nymphs, your lays. What graves are these that reach so many and so far into the sea? Who may their mourners be? Has Persia poured upon the earth again her young and swarthy hordes? Has Xerxes made all of my shores a fen for his unholy swords? The spirits moaned among the mounds, deep stirred, and a low sob he heard. Apollo wept, and coming to their side, lifted his face of tears. What dost thou here among our dead? They cried, in speech of other spheres. Passing to mourn my own, he softly said, here were my footsteps led. O master mourners, as ye be in truth, I guard the Cyclades, and for the time-clipped souls of love and youth I grieve through all these seas, till Delos sink as swift and wondrously as once she rose for me. But what wild woe has brought ye to my lands? Who lie beneath your feet? O masters, answer, for I feel my hands aching for summer heat. My heart fires crying in remembrance clear, and know that youth is here. Then in a plaintive voice like sighs by night, the eldest sadly spake. Many a bride with tinkling feet and light, where lotus buds awake, feels the sweet marriage vigour strike her blood in warm impassioned flood. But through the melancholy field she sees no hot brown lover glide, with rapturous longing trembling to his knees in the soft eventide. She hears instead my Ganges fuller roll, with his slain soldier's soul. Allah has turned the keys, the youngest said, and from the minarets the slow muezzins moving overhead see when the prayer hour sets, palm-lifted multitudes on bended knee, bowed in humility. But 'neath the foldings of their long, loose veils, the widows breathe strange sighs, for the brave dead whose memory assails their dark, reflecting eyes, through small swart boys who follow in their play their red-fezzed father's way. With awful anguish in his palms of pain, the master hid his face. How could he tell the many tears that rain in every Christian place? Wherever blue eyes dimmed or grey woe filled for a young hero killed, he heard the sobbings of the prophets pale, but pausing full in thought, he made no murmur to their gentle wail, nor to Apollo aught. His mind was mirroring the sounds and sights of youth's eclipsed delights. Master, you do not speak, Apollo sighed. Have you no lost ones here? Perchance great sorrow's sepulchres in pride all anguish of a tear. O blow, ye pipes, ye flutes, a mournful strain, and let us on again. Young singer of the ages, stay, he cried, young lord, be slow to leave. Where youth and beauty slumber side by side, thine is the right to grieve. I died for man, and those who watched with me panged for truth's mastery. Youth, here we meet and find love's little worth in hearts faith bound to ours. All these have fallen levelled to the earth within a few fierce hours. Turks, Gurkha, Christians seeking paradise won in red sacrifice. So let the minstrels of thy pipes play on, and sing triumphantly. Light that is everywhere when woe is gone remains in thee, world free, and all these legions lying line on line who saw its gleam are thine. Lights leapt in circles round the masters three, they vanished veiled in space, and young Apollo with his company all through that tragic place, to lifted lyres and pipes above their bed, mourned his immortal dead. O hells dyed the bottoms of the moon, faint fell the wandering airs, the lone Aegean made a little croon, like a far-off voice of prayers, and a breeze blew from Suvla to the beat of new gods' marching feet. End of section 101.
Section 102 from Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Elise D. Sonnet 10. And then came Science, with her torch red lid and cosmic marvels round her glowing head, the primal cell, the worm, the quadruped, striving to make each to the other fit. Tongue trumpeting her own unchallenged wit, she offered me the woof of wisdom's thread, and truth and purity that hourly tread the paths where sages in their wonder sit. And still I smiled and kissed you with a sob, my lips on yours. I heard, high up above, love's feet ring laughter on the starry sod, and felt the echo through our bosoms throb. Beloved, science ends in our pure love, which shares alone the secrets of our God. End of section 102. Section 103 from Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Elise D. Sonnet 14. Dearest, it seems as if our dreams were all we two shall know of those realities, those trembling gardens and fair flower seas, where we might wander from contention's call. For this and that creeps in from rise to fall of our delightings, till eternities seem nearer to us than the lilting breeze that wafts its promise through our nuptial hall. Ah, kiss me o'er and o'er. Live in our dreams, and nothing earthly to that joyance add. So shall we wake and find life fairer far, and drifting down the stilly, airy streams in the loose raiment of our spirits clad, we'll meet the miracle of sun and star. End of section 103.
Section 104, Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Caveat. The Sisters of Sorrow. Last of my lot, a woman-seeming man, I crouched where coiling worms made festive feast, and down the avenues of anguish ran the broad battalions of the west and east. Pinned fast in agonies of pendant death, swollen with pain these shards of broken shell, the weight of woe and pity choked my breath, holding me prisoner in a ghastly hell. Stars were shut out, the very angels shrieked, and God himself clapped on his ears his hands. Field mice and frogs moved where the grasses leaked, in bloodier dew than ever stained the sands. And there, amidst the mingled strife of men, I was aware two silent figures stood, alone, unharmed, while from their slimy den the fiends of war claimed human flesh for food. Two nuns were they, with holy eyes devout. The younger hoodless, and her naked head gleamed like a pallid moon above the rout. Where shattered fields lay shrouded with their dead, the elder never took her eyes from her, but calmed each frightened look and pensive sigh, and as her lips made prayers as sweet as myrrh, the hounds of hell went howling madly by. Foam of red fury from their jaws outpoured, and the young sister paled in icy fright. O God, I strained, but tighter grew the cord of pain and death that held me in my plight, till moved by the immortal dream of love that stirred the swinging pulses of the world and urged my soul to swell to tides above, I, wrenching free, myself to aid her hurled. I woke. Silk sheet, fair damask eiderdown, pearls of pure rose from orient oceans brought, pressed on my arms and throat like a crown. Of fire my hair clung to my brow braid caught, fragrant full it clothed my flower-like breasts, and lo, relumed in an instant in the gleam, I saw beneath the crucifix two guests, the pale sad sisters of my awful dream. I looked, and from the elder's thorn-bruised head the face of Christ smiled faintly over me, making the room where lust had hourly fed breathe the ambrosia of chastity. I wept. I felt the passion tear-rills roll, like drops of blood from wounds where beasts had trod. The Christ had brought me to my own sad soul. Across its gleam I kissed the lips of God. End of section 104. Section 105. Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Caveat. Poor Fools. 1. Would I could sleep,
The prison walls are dark, the pallet hard, and I am sick for rest. Rats gnaw the rafters. I can see them now within the cell, creeping about the floor. Oh God, I have been here 10 twilights since I heard the voice of him who said to me, "You must confess for your own sake or die." I looked at him across the court, a kind old man, with snowy head and wrinkled cheek, and as he spoke I felt the fluttering gasp of women in their seats, and one man moaned. I killed him. I made speech with bloodless lips. Why must I kill him twice to prove my wrong? I cannot take his coarse red neck beneath these hands again and crush his swelling veins until they burst, as I did then. He struck me on the breast, this one, which still is black, and when his hands imprisoned both my arms, crosswise in agony behind my back, I screamed and said I would consent, and he let go. I smiled at him through lips made thick with pain, but his hot breath and rolling tongue steamed lust at me, and all my heart upburst. I had a silver knife upon a chain that dangled from my neck. I smiled again. I smoothed his hair, I kissed his face, I nursed his head, and from the silver chain I took the little knife and opened it and struck him in the neck. This artery I knew just where. Warm blood gushed on my hand. He shrieked and writhed, and I outstruck again. Here, here, till eyes and cheek and ears were slit, and on his soaking sleeve red murder stench of death. I was my mother's dearest only child. I knew him not. I sang a little song, a simple thing, when from the shade he ran out of my father's wood and lifted me, struggling between his arms, into the green, dark grove. I killed him, but I cannot say how much of me he killed before I smelt the wet woe of his blood and heard him scream for help. I ceased. They bore me swift away. So I am here, and have said nothing more, nor will I ever speak to tell the truth, to kill his shrieking soul with my bruised soul that bled beneath his butchery. No, no, yet should I not speak out and save my life? What life? I have no life to live, since he, oh, how that jailer's steps rings through my brain. 2. I hang tomorrow, just this night to live. I cannot see the cell for fearful forms, with leering eyes and sockets stuffed with fire. O God, if you are God, stoop, pity me, keep me awake that I may live, live, live. You cannot. They have slipped the noose on me. My heart is stopping, moaning for its life. My loose flesh sags and droops. I gurgle death. Thud. That is my dead body dropping down. God, hour by hour I hang myself, until from every rafter of my cell I see a dangling body, and the body mine. Where are you, God? Have you forgotten me? I faint, I swoon, I tire. Oh, I could sleep, but let me not, for fear I miss or lose 1 minute of the few that trickle down. Time sick with waiting for the icy last. Mists swim my eyes, my brain is clogged with blood. Each cell of it is red like this, and each a prison, where a body hangs feet down. Oh God, why did I kill him? How he stared! You saw it all. You see all things. Does it amuse you that you say no word, nor raise a hand to help me? Will you smile to see me hanging by tomorrow's hair, or lift the lids of my young eyes and weep? These walls are falling on me. Hold them up. Empty my maddened brain of its affright. Oh, set me free, or chain the soul of him I killed. You cannot. You will let me hang, but stifled in my throat my soul will twist, through labyrinths of pain, through heaven and hell, and seek yours out and murder it with his. O God, I must have dreamed. Take for my prayers these tears that drop slow gathered from my eyes. They cannot hang me, who is now all hanged. His soul is quiet and the air quite still. What is a murder? What a death or life? I am a box of clay that empties out, its contents on the bosom of the air. There is no heaven or hell, no right, no wrong, and I am nothing, nothing ever was. I am already one with you and him. And he I killed himself part killed. Poor fools! They will but hang themselves tomorrow morn. End of section 105. End of Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross.
Section 94, The Songs of Love and Life by Zora Cross. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Read by Caveat. The Ragnarok of Regeneration. Valhalla rang with mirth, loud, clear, and long. The harp of Bragi thrilled the feasters there, and from the hanging horns rich streams of song echoed the eager magic of his air, majestically moving white and fair. The tall Valkyries for the heroes poured meads of delight and everlasting fare that heaped the panels of the pictured board, and lay upon the plates mid spear and axe and sword. Deep gorged the gods, and down the golden floors the shields of silver from the rafters flung, phantoms of battle, while the trophied doors creaked with the freighted treasure that they swung. Long thundered Thor, and as his trumpet tongue boomed to the ceiling with his tales of might, the hand-loped Tyr from depths of torture wrung the awful horror of the Fenris fight, till the red room was filled with memories of affright. Throned on his chair above the mighty feast, full hearing there the ribald deeds of all, how beast made conquest of his brother beast, Odin sat silent in the banquet hall. His wolves were buried in his long blue pall, his ravens slept upon his arm like stone, and over them he let his vision fall, from turquoise turrets of his starry zone, north, south, east, west, to Midgard's murk and Hel's dark throne. He saw the Viking wallowing in blood, and Loke, the loathsome, straining at his chain. He saw the serpent and the venomed flood, or mortal agony beneath it reign, and down the labyrinth of souls unslain, where the gaunt Garm paced steadily and sure, his large blue eyes beyond the plains of pain, through dreadful torment that the dead endure, on Balder fell, the good, the beautiful, the pure. Odin arose, and as the heroes sang of everlasting strife, he, restless, strode his pearly platform till his footsteps rang like fire along the lofty long abode. They heeded not, but Heimdall, where he rode down Bifrost, shuddered, and in Frigga's room the spinning maidens from their fingers flowed fillets of fear, and the white Norns of doom tangled the patterns of the thread upon their loom. Sudden the cock upon the ramparts screamed, Yggdrasil trembled, and from Odin's stall grey Steepnir clattered, while his bright hooves gleamed with fiery fury to the feasting hall. Wild terror wrung her red hands over all, fear fathomed to the depths of her own despair, and loud the horn of Heimdall blew the call of Ragnarok, as on the startled air noise mustered noise, and war rang roaring everywhere. Swift Odin buckled on his golden shield, and leaping to their feet and scattering wide plates, horns, and tankards as they forward wheeled, the gods and heroes gathered to his side, their glowing armor ringing as they cried, "Balder returns!" They hurried like a sea to where the steeds stood ready for the ride, and Odin's daughters, mounting eagerly, forth fled the hosts to Vigrid's dark eternity. Then Balder stirred, and at the gates of hell, deserted now by all the shades, he sprang upon his steed, and like a mellow bell the golden hooves across the pavement sang. Higher he mounted, for he heard the clang of splitting spears and thunder thickening night, with roaring tumults as the war cries rang. But ere he reached the field of fatal fight, down, down crashed Bifrost under Rymer's rumbling flight. An instant rising on his horse, he scanned the crumbling battlements and tottering towers, which, as the sun sweat spilling on the land, an opal rain fell like a cloud of flowers. So fall the gods, he murmured, and their powers. But to the clamour of his kin he sped, for Balder, where is Balder? Shot in the showers about his ears, and in a haze of red the doom of Ragnarok flashed on his eyes ahead. Oh, bloody sight! Thick on the right were ranged his father's hosts, and opposite the crowd of giants led by Loke, whose colour changed when Heimdall charged, and moving like a cloud of flame amidst the ranks, his foemen cowed. Now Odin grappled Fenris, Tyr tripped Garm, and as the swell of tumult echoed loud above the armies, 'neath his hairy arm Thor gripped the spitting serpent, fearless of all harm. Hot vapours issued from each panting side, infuriated hate and anger dashed good from the path, and, raging far and wide, through the red strife the swords of vengeance gashed. Delight! Madly the gods of courage clashed, sword, spear, and javelin through shame and sin, but, belching agony, the hell hordes plashed, venom of vile destruction, while the din of thousand-throated battle volleyed chaos in. In anguish Balder watched, and hearing, high above the roar of thrice accursed fire, the moans of women and the dying cry of Heimdall calling him to help his sire, he shuddered at the horror of the mire. He closed his eyes, and turning terrified of steaming slaughter and perdition dire, fled from the flames, and at the first great stride old Odin groaned and sank upon his face and died. But Balder galloped on, though as he went he heard the clashing cataracts of spears, swift falling through the splitting firmament, and over all came hammering in his ears the call to him of myriads in their tears. He turned not, neither did he stoop his crest, but shouted to the ear of other spheres, "Lost are the fairest, noblest, purest, best. Earth has no habitation wherein truth may rest." Long years he rode, then sudden on his sight the glittering walls of Gimli lit the west, where fragrant spirits multiplied by light slept on the air in co-eternal rest. A scent of song his breathing nostrils blessed. He felt the rapture of his mother's kiss, and like a flood of fire about his breast, his soul outpoured, and nothing now remiss, he lighted at the gates, enamoured of their bliss. "Here dwell the resurrected gods," he said, "my father Odin and blind Hoder too. Here youth and beauty all their treasure spread. Open, good gods, and let me in with you." But gravely mantled in a cloak of blue, a strange sweet presence to his calling came, and like to all his weary memory knew, low Balder sank upon his knees in shame, not knowing him or how to speak his holy name. "O you," the presence said, "who fled the world, look back on that from whence you sped so fast. I had as lief you stayed, and madly hurled death on yourself, as left it so aghast." So Balder turned and saw a conflict vast, a wilder war than ever Odin waged, on Fenris brawling with a screaming blast, for human food, which, as it gorged and raged, innumerable nations in their arms engaged. Pernicious powers, encumbered with hot hate, marshalled their awful armies rank by rank. Rage rattled through the world her fiery freight, and dreadful murder all sweet beauty drank, in horrid order on the western flank. The booming cannon's bellowing chorus fell. They yawned destruction till creation stank with festering carcasses that knew no knell, save million-mouthed disaster, frothing yell on yell. Great Balder groaned with pain, but stricken gazed upon the wheeling companies whose force flamed with hot lust o'er sea and mountains blazed, and tore tempestuous anger from her source. Wrath ruled, and pouring in discordant course, stone, steel, and massive missiles spitting fire, stupendous engines wore their echoes hoarse, while the wild air whirled thick with wings of ire, and on the sea slick treason seemed of rape to tire. "I will go back," moaned Balder, "unto these. The world is smoking red with butchery. Voluptuous vice in dissipated ease sits on the knee of gibbering idiocy, and swinish flocks, full fed with luxury, loll in the lap of leisure, thoughtless eyed. I will return with love and liberty. The good and beautiful in faith," he cried, "shall make a newer world by reason purified." But soft the presence smiled and shook his head. "Come in," he said, "for they themselves will rise, on wings omnipotent by pure love led, through their true selves to you and paradise." Long Balder stared, then sudden in his eyes he knew the master on whose neck he cried, and as he clung to him the startled sighs of those infernal furies waned and died, and man, by God in man, to God rose glorified. End of section 94.